Okay, here we are the next morning after this core mold has had a chance to set up. And here's a little bit of that core sand that I didn't pack at all, but just happened to be pushed off to the side and it cured overnight. And I just wanted to show you that, yeah, it actually itself has some strength even though it's not been packed in, but it's pretty weak. It cracks pretty easily here. So the idea is that you do want to pack that in good and tight to get strength. And one thing I didn't mention yesterday is that I do use Olivine 100 mesh sand for my green sand and for my core sand. And one of the reasons I like Olivine is that it has no risk of silicosis like silica sand commonly used in foundries has that risk. And it also has a very high breakdown temperature, so it's a very desirable sand. That said, here is the residual of the epoxy that we used yesterday. And I always kind of like to check that, make sure that it's set up properly. I guess it always does, but it's just sort of reassuring to me to see that it is nice and hard, actually so hard that it's pretty fragile. But yeah, that's the stuff, and I guess I'm not going to get it out of there easily. That's all right. So let's move on to removing the core from the mold here. This piece of steel I showed you yesterday that fits onto the core and helps manipulate it both now and when it comes time to drop that core in the mold, the green sand mold. It's very helpful then, because otherwise you're trying to drop this core sand down into a recess that's the same size as this mold. How would you get your fingers on there? You'd have to drop it the last little bit, and that's not good because that could likely break some of the sand in the green sand mold, if not the core itself. So we have this add-on piece there. I'm going to flip over like so, and then the mold is not freely coming loose here, and I wouldn't expect that at all. Normally what I do is I just go through and tap vertically all over the mold. You'll see that. I try to do very little, if any, tapping sideways because I'm concerned that could jar the mold a little bit and shear off those letters that are down deep in the mold. So I pretty much, when there are letters involved or some fine detail like that, just do vertical tapping. Hopefully that'll be enough. And now I'll just go ahead and tap a little bit and raise up on the mold itself. And I can feel that it loosened up over there. So let's go down to this end now, and we'll do the same thing. And I can feel that it's loose on both sides. So now, very carefully, I raise it straight up. I try not to angle it this way or that way, as that's likely to break off parts of the core. And lo and behold, you can see we have a nice clean draw here. There's no residual sand except that little nub right there, which corresponds to this point here and is very unimportant. In fact, I've been thinking about taking those recesses out altogether. But anyways, the main thing here is to see that we have a nice firm core. It is nice and smooth. I'll have you come up pretty close, and all I can tell you is this is a nice finish as far as I'm concerned. And you can see that the letters, so I'm going to bring this light over a little bit to highlight them. The letters are nice and crisp, and I really like that. Looks like my 2 down here. Yeah, it's all right. Okay. So that's the core, and now it is something I can pretty easily handle and manipulate. Those little nuts that I put on, I check them, make sure that they're nice and firm. And then when it comes time to put this into a green sand mold, I can hold on to these pieces right here, these pieces at angle, and I actually often put down a finger or two right on the green sand and kind of ever so gently put that down into the green sand mold. That'll come later. We'll make another video on that. I also made these little cores here that serve as details in my hollow 18s. That's where the nameplate, I call it, where you see Foster Featherweight on the back of those 18s comes from. So I just use this little scribe to poke the silicone, bring it up out of the box here, and then you can see that this core separates really easily from the mold, and this came out pretty darn good too. Let's bring that light over so that you can see. There we are. That's a nice, sharp, crisp rendition of those letters. That'll look nice when it's cast. Let's see if we got lucky on the other one over here too. We do the same thing. Just poke down in here and pop that out like so. I do have to be a little bit careful how I handle these, but they take a little bit of abuse, as you can see. Pop that out. And it looks like we also got a nice clean separation here. There we are. Looks good. Again, very nice crisp letters. Come up a little closer so as you can see. There we go. So the way these will be used, I actually use a little hypodermic needle and drill a hole here and here, and those will get pinned into the green sand mold. But that works pretty well. Holds them adequately. It doesn't take much to hold them. There's the iron, when it comes into the mold, when I pour it in, does not have a lot of force pushing things around. I've noticed I get away with some pretty weak features in the sand that still get rendered nicely in the cast iron. So I think that's what I wanted to go over today. Coming up pretty soon, we'll go ahead and make a green sand mold, and then we'll drop this core. I'll probably make 2 molds. We'll drop this core and another core into that, and you'll get to see how that all works. And then probably the final step on all that will be to actually pour those molds with iron. Hopefully that'll occur in a couple of days, as we got some nice weather coming up. It looks like cold, but clear, and we'll get that done. So for today, thanks for watching, and we'll keep at it.